Wow. So Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather. Leading up to this fight, so many people have asked me for my opinion and who I thought it was going to win. I got stopped at the gym constantly. I got stopped while I was training on the heavy bag by random ass people coming up to me. I've been approached in the sauna, in the pool, in the hot tub, um, randomly walking through the streets. Everyone on my social media have been asking me about it. I've been asked time and time again. And it's already over, obviously. But my perspective leading into this fight was simply you never know. I mean, logic says Floyd Mayweather, but for some reason I had this fantasy feeling that told me for some reason Conor had a chance of some kind. Um, or I don't know, I felt like for some reason it was going, like there was going to be some kind of magical thing that happens and gives Conor the power in his left hand to knock out Floyd Mayweather. Um, but obviously that did not happen. And and the other thing that I thought was possible, and now I'm really skeptical on, was what if this whole thing is just just staged? I mean, obviously, we have all these people that are super emotionally invested in this fight. Like, oh, like fucking, Connor's a faggot, Connor's stupid. What makes him think he can win? Boxing is better, MMA is better, yada yada yada. Okay, at a baseline, we all know if you train 10 years in boxing, that's not the same as training 10 years in MMA. But the same thing goes both ways. So a boxer who's been undefeated for 20 years is not going to lose to an MMA fighter who's only been fighting in MMA professionally for like 5, 6 years. And to never compete in boxing, why the fuck would he all of a sudden be able to beat a boxer who's been training since he was a child? It made no sense. And why would they give Conor the chance to fight anyway? Besides the fact that it'll make a ton of money. You can only think that the money was the main thing behind it, and not to mention it would be a very interesting dynamic. One of the most popular and controversial MMA fighters of our modern time versus probably the greatest boxer of all time, especially the modern era. You know, it would only be the most interesting thing ever, like a freak show, basically. And everyone is was very curious about how Conor would do in a boxing situation, what he would look like, and yada yada. So, I mean, the money, the interesting dynamic behind it, and just the fact that, I see the type of person that Floyd Mayweather is, and I see the type of person that Conor is, and it seems like they both can put on an amazing show and play it off like they're both enemies, and play it off like, they're going to have a good, clean fight or whatever, and it's going to be legitimate, but it's actually just a movie or acting, basically. And so, coming into this, there's a huge possibility it would all be staged. It would all be kind of like WWE or whatever, essentially. Obviously, I'm not saying that boxing is WWE or anything. I'm just saying, I mean, come on. How could Conor do so well in boxing? You know what I mean? So then, fast forward to the actual fight. Now, after watching the fight, Jesus Christ, Conor McGregor looked like he was dominating Mayweather the entire time. He was landing shots. He was very offensive, very aggressive. He was utilizing angles very effectively. More effectively than I've seen a lot of boxers. But at the same time, Mayweather wasn't really moving a whole lot at all. He wasn't really cutting angles. It really looked like Mayweather was going super easy on Conor, like really, really easy. And so, of course, Conor McGregor will be able to cut angles and utilize movement really effectively if his target's not really moving a whole lot and not responding to his angles. It really looked like one of three things. Okay, it looked like either number one, and this is the most it just really seemed like Floyd was like they had an agreement coming into this fight. It looked like Floyd said, "Listen, Conor, I'll make you look good. I'll make it look like you're dominating me for the first 8 rounds, and then once the 9th round comes around, I'm just gonna go balls out. I'm going to knock you out. You're gonna be tired by that time. I want you to act like you're completely exhausted. That way, you can just say, after I knock you out." That you were a great boxer, you had great skill, you could say you were dominating me the whole fight, and you just got tired. And if you had better conditioning, you had better cardio and stamina, you could say that you would have won if you had better conditioning. And if it wasn't for the fact that you ran out of breath and you were exhausted towards the end, then you would have won. You could say that. But I knock you out. So I make you look good as long as I knock you out in the 10th round and walk away with 50-0 undefeated record. So it seemed like that was the agreement. Either that or, because I'm sure Floyd could have knocked him out at any point in time. Not saying Conor McGregor isn't as great a fighter as he is, but it just doesn't make sense that Conor would be dominating Floyd as much as it seemed like he was in this fight. It really looked like Floyd was going just too easy on him. And knowing how much experience Floyd has, you would expect Floyd to be Mayweather to be able to knock him out super fast. And I just know experienced fighters, I know that they have the control at any time. They can make themselves look really easy until they just pull the trigger. And once they pull the trigger, they could choose to pull that trigger any time. And once they pull that trigger, you're fucking done. They just can end the fight. They can knock you out whenever they please. But until they knock you out, they can make it look like, you're so much better than them. It's actually a tactic used by Sun Tzu from The Art of War. When you are strong, make yourself appear weak. When you're weak, make yourself appear strong. So obviously Floyd Mayweather is a stronger boxer by far, so he could have made himself look weak the entire fight, and then just pull the trigger and knock him out and reveal his true strength whenever he chooses. So that brings me to the second possibility. The first possibility, it was just staged. Second possibility is Mayweather was just going easy on him the entire fight for the first 8-9 rounds. For whatever reason, maybe he was actually legitimately not sure what Conor would bring to the table. Maybe it was a legitimate fight, and Mayweather didn't know what to expect. So Mayweather was just kind of filling him out the entire time, staying far away, not getting too aggressive, not really doing anything, and just watching him for the first couple rounds. And while he watches him, while Mayweather just kind of chills the entire time, Mayweather is at the same time saving his energy, whereas Conor's just throwing punches, staying on him, being aggressive, and Conor's tiring himself out as he's doing this, as he's throwing these punches and as he's aggressing. The aggressor is always the one who loses the most stamina. And so Mayweather was probably, Mayweather did look like he was just sparring with a student almost. Any experienced martial artist who has sparred with many different skill levels of practitioners knows what it looks like when you're a veteran and you are, just guarding, just barely utilizing any skill at all, barely punching your sparring partner at all, and just letting your sparring partner practice basically. You'll take a couple shots because you're not really counter punching, you're not really providing a lot of offense, and you're not even moving a whole lot really. You're just kind of observing your partner and just letting your partner get a couple shots in here and there, and looking to see what your partner needs to improve on. I mean, that's what a sparring session looks like. A veteran and a student. And Mayweather looked like he was playing the role of the veteran teacher, and Conor was the aggressive rookie, especially the aggressive rookie that has something to prove and doesn't know his own limit. So, past the 9th round, maybe Mayweather just said, fuck it, I've seen enough, and he looks really tired, I'm just going to knock him out now. So that could have been the other possibility. The third possibility, and this is what they're trying to play it off like, this is what Mayweather and Conor are saying it is, and what they're trying to play it off like, and what they made it look like. It really looked like it was staged, but what they're trying to play it out to be, what they're acting as if is happening, is basically Conor was just being super aggressive the entire time, and Conor does somehow possess the ability to dominate Floyd, and Floyd is just kind of like being really cautious the first 8 rounds, being patient, taking his time, and letting Conor gas out. So now Conor gasses out about the 7th, 8th, 9th round especially, and then Mayweather knew he was going to gas out, and so Mayweather pulls the trigger. Mayweather just knocks him out in the 10th round, because the entire fight he knew that Conor McGregor was going to gas out eventually. And of course, when you gas out, when you run out of air, when you're exhausted, obviously it's hard to throw power punches. It can be hard to even throw a jab, especially while moving, especially just utilizing movement efficiently in general. You can't even defend yourself when you're exhausted like that. You saw Conor's hands went down. Conor typically likes to fight with his hands down anyway to bait his opponent, but you know that Conor mainly just dropped his hands completely to conserve energy, because you do conserve a lot of energy when you let your guard down. Of course, then you're more susceptible to getting knocked out, and if you're exhausted, especially that exhausted, it's going to be a lot harder to dodge strikes, especially strikes from someone as skilled and fast as Floyd Mayweather. So, it could have been staged, number one. Number two, Mayweather could have just been like observing the entire fight, and kind of sparring around with Conor until he got a feel for it, and then decided to knock him out when he had the chance, or when he was guaranteed it. Or number three, Mayweather the whole fight knew that he's just letting Conor exert himself, and then he knew that eventually Conor would run out of gas, and Mayweather could just knock him out effortlessly at that point. No matter what, though, all three, I really just think that Mayweather could have knocked him out a lot earlier. The entire fight, as far as the numbers are concerned, it was neck and neck. They were both scoring the same amount of points, at least that's what I remember. I noticed Conor McGregor was bending the rules a lot. He was throwing hammer fists. He was hitting Mayweather in the back of the head. He kept leaning on him. He was clinching him up excessively, and Conor even hit Mayweather while the referee was holding them, which is just crazy. So he was definitely losing a lot of points for that. But it doesn't really matter in the end because he got TKO'd. And that was a very weird ending. It just didn't make sense. Like, it did not look like an actual KO or even a TKO. I guess I need to watch more boxing, but I thought that in order for the fight to be stopped, the other one has to forfeit, or they, would be knocked out, like legitimately knocked out, like on the floor knocked out. Conor did not look. He looked a little dazed. Didn't really look too disoriented to the point where he can't fight anymore. It looked like Conor had his hands down still to conserve energy. Yeah, he was getting hit with a lot of shots, but it looked like he was trying to just regain his stamina while Floyd was hitting on him. And it looked like the referee stopped it a little early, just my opinion, which was just a really weird ending, and that's what really just started the skepticism in me, thinking it was staged. Another thing to take note of is that Conor is a lot longer than Floyd, or at least it looked that way. I thought that Floyd had more reach on him, but maybe I'm mistaken. Conor looked like he had a couple inches on him. Conor looked a lot taller, a lot bigger than Mayweather, and that definitely plays a role. But you'd think the best boxer of all time, it wouldn't really matter. Floyd could have probably knocked him out in the first round. But also with all the money involved and all this other thing, and I'm sure that Mayweather didn't want to make Conor look too stupid. So ending it in the first or second round probably would have been it would have made people sad. And I don't think Mayweather would have wanted to end his career with a quick knockout. I think that Mayweather, especially since Mayweather was running the entire promotion of this fight, all the money and all this stuff, I think the fans would be very disappointed if Mayweather just knocked him out real fast. I know a lot of people would disagree, and they would say it also caused a lot of controversy. A lot more people would be talking about it. But I suppose, Mayweather seems like he wants to spread the joy, the excitement of the entire situation. And so for Conor to enjoy it, to live on with great memories of this time and positive energy coming out of this thing, which I really feel like Floyd and Conor are like good friends. I feel like Floyd wanted Conor to come out of this fight with, motivation to take the MMA world by storm and to continue going far. I think that there's a mutual respect, and I think that Mayweather really respects Conor, and I just don't think that he'd want to shut Conor down like that and embarrass him, especially for his last fight. Could you imagine? I guess Floyd has been criticized for a long time about just running the entire time, and then all of a sudden his very last fight, Mayweather just knocks him out in one round. Now it's like no running at all, just knock him out in one round. I mean, that really wouldn't be saying much anyway, because then people would just be like, oh, well, it was Conor McGregor, an MMA fighter. I mean, anyone could have done that, big whoop. So I don't think that Mayweather wanted to make him look weak. This is probably the best outcome that could have came from this entire thing, to make everybody happy. So I don't know if it was staged. It seemed that way. If not, I mean, but Conor did look like he had a lot of skill, though. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Conor sucks. Conor looked a lot better than you would think. A lot better than you'd expect out of somebody who was looked down upon so much coming into this fight. So I don't know. Leave your questions and comments down below and tell me what you think.